Thanks so much, Bob. Good to see you all. Please make sure you eat while we talk. We don't want to interrupt your meal or have your meal be cold, but it's great to see so many of you. As Bob said, my name is Chris Lorber. I'll give a quick intro and background of who I am, what I do at the school, and then ultimately introduce Mr. Risner, the school's president. But for many of you that I do know, again, it's great to see you. And those that I have not yet met other than today, my background is I'm a 2004 graduate. After graduating from Benedictine and being fortunate to win a state championship our senior year, I decided to continue my academics and athletics at Teal College in Western PA, where I was a business major and played football for 4 years. I graduated in May, and 3 weeks after graduation, I immediately started working at Benedictine, which was outstanding because it was the year of the recession. I was a business major. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. And fortunately for my situation, Benedictine contacted me to see if I'd be interested in assuming the alumni director role. I interviewed, I asked if I could still coach football there, and they said certainly. We love when faculty and staff also do auxiliaries after school. So I coached football. I did that for, I was the alumni director for 3 years, where I met many of you 15 years ago at Golden Corrals when Bob, John, and Russ put this together. And then transitioned over to admissions. I did admissions for a year, and then actually left Benedictine for 8 months and worked in private business, but still came to school every day because I was coaching Benedictine football at the time. So. Again, fortunately for me, since I was on campus every day and I didn't burn a bridge with the school, a new opportunity presented itself when Tony Russ retired and I became the athletic director. I did that from 2013 to 2017. Still during that time I coached football, and then in 2017 I assumed the role of Vice President of Advancement and have been in that role now entering year 6. So altogether, 15 years at Benedictine, not counting my time as a student and not counting my time as a young 5-year-old, 6-year-old when my brothers were entering the institution as freshmen in the early 90s. So 30 plus years of some type of involvement, and after Ryan gives an introduction of who he is along with what we got going on academically, program-wise, and general state of the school, I'll conclude with what my role on a day-to-day is and what it is to hopefully keep the Benedictine mission alive for another 100 years, which we're all so proud of. So that's my quick bio. Ryan's going to give his, then the update of the school, and then I'll circle back with what we do.
Hey guys, thanks Chris. Appreciate it. Once again, Ryan Risner, class of 1995. I currently serve as the president of Benedictine High School. So I've been in Catholic education for 23 years as a profession, as a teacher, as a coach, as an administrator, and of those 23 years, 14 have been serving our alma mater at Benedictine High School. I was an English and social studies teacher. Before I actually got to Benedictine, I was a St. Anne's kid from Cleveland Heights, and went through Benedictine, went to Allegheny College, played some baseball there. Then knew that I wanted to get into education, spoke with Father Gerard. There wasn't a position available, so I started teaching at St. Rocco School over on Fulton. For those of you who are familiar with it, and a spot finally opened up at Benedictine, and I was able to teach and coach. I was a JV coach for Roger's son Brian for 10 years. Really loved serving in that capacity. I was looking for opportunities to get into administration, and some of the guys who taught me were still up above me when I became a colleague of theirs. So I went to Lake Catholic for a year. I was at 6 years over at Gilmore, where I was the assistant director of the upper school, and I directed their middle school as well. And in 2019, I had an opportunity to apply for the principal's job back at Benedictine. And I was fortunate enough to be selected for that, and served 1 year before Frank Basu retired. And from there I took the additional role as president and principal for 2 years. And when Frank's nephew Dominic came over from New York, we had him as assistant principal last year. he elevated to principal, and now I serve primarily just as in the president's role. So I'm very grateful that I've had the opportunity to serve at Benedictine for as long as I have. Appreciate all that you guys do and the ways that you support, whether it's coming to ball games, whether it's sending letters, phone calls, and any monetary support. We're always grateful for that. But just getting together like this is inspirational, that you guys still find time to get together. That's what the brotherhood that our guys still talk about in the building. That's what makes Benedictine so special, that all these years later, you guys can sit down, pick up stories as if it was just 10 minutes ago rather than
fiction, almost all fiction.
Okay. Some of it might be creative.
Fuzzy memories.
I appreciate that as an English teacher. Fiction's good, but it's good to see you guys still getting together on a regular basis. So Chris mentioned and wanted to give a little bit of an update on the school. So right now is a great time to be a Bengal because we're growing in a good way. Our campus is being beautified. We've been going through our centennial campaign. If you think about it, the monks just celebrated their centennial in 2022. They came over from Chicago, and they came over in 1922, started the school in 1927. So they celebrated the monk centennial in Cleveland just last year, and we're approaching the high school centennial in 2027. So not many places can boast being around almost 100 years, so we take a
I
great
am
deal of
almost
pride.
100 years.
Navi's been here for almost all of them, which is a good thing. So that's a good thing. And so in order to celebrate, we started our centennial campaign. That old boiler building in the faculty parking lot was leveled down, turned into a stage, and we created some green space. And Chris will go a little bit more into detail on some of the capital projects. And you know, we're bringing guys all the way in. I heard some of you guys saying, you know, nobody's going to want to come into the city. You know, we actually have guys coming as far east as Newberry, as far west as Avon, and as far south as North Canton. So our goalie comes all the way to Benedictine from North Canton. He was part of Maslin Jackson's school district and drives for 4 years. He was one of the best goalies in the area, and he came all the way from there. So we've got a bunch of kids. We're at about 265 overall. We've got a nice freshman class coming in, probably in the low to mid 80s, which is where we'd like to be. We'd like to be intentionally small because sometimes when we bring larger groups in, we want to make sure that we're holding our academic integrity. You guys established the meaning and the value of a Benedictine diploma. When I got here, it was because of what you guys did. When I was a student, you guys set the bar high. I want that bar to be the same for our students today that it was for you guys and the guys who went before you, because that value of a Benedictine education, a Benedictine diploma, has to remain important. And it has to make sure that when somebody sees a Benedictine diploma, it means a lot to them because it means a lot to us. So Chris and I spend a lot of time talking about how we're trying to defend the integrity of that diploma. And it starts with getting good kids and good families, great mixture of kids, whether it's from the city of Cleveland or the surrounding suburbs and the exurbs. That's our ultimate goal. One of the ways in which our alumni are actually participating, we know that we already do a good job when we're in the classroom. In the four walls of the classroom, you're going to get a good education. But what's going to make that education different? So we talk about a greater focus on experiential learning. So experiential learning is getting out of the classroom and learning what practical applications can there be to what you're learning in the classroom. So our engineering groups are going to manufacturing companies, they're going to Lincoln Electric, they're going to small firms, and they're figuring out what those theories and what those practical applications can be in the STEM organizations. We're getting our guys who are interested in the medical field, we're getting them out on rounds at hospitals throughout the area. So let's say a kid grows up at 15 years old and he says, I want to be a doctor. He goes on rounds, he sees blood, he passes out. Guess what? You're probably not built to be a doctor. Why don't we go into research or something different? You'd rather learn that at 15 or 16-year-old rather than pay all the money to go to med school and realize, hey, you might have made a wrong choice there. So getting these guys, they love their teachers, they respect their teachers, but sometimes their teachers don't have that real world experience of what it is in their respective disciplines. When you talk about lawyers, when you talk about doctors, all of those folks, our alums are coming back in and they're meeting with the guys and they're saying, you know what, I was just like you X amount of years ago, and this is what I did. These were the clubs that I was involved with. This is somebody who was inspirational to me. We talk about mentorship from the older generation to the younger generation. That is where these guys can ask questions about what the real world looks like in addition to what they're learning in the classroom. So we're trying to say that Cleveland is our classroom, not just Benedictine High School. We're going out to all these places, and we're also inviting professionals to come speak on campus and speak with our students on a regular basis. So that's something we're really proud of. We're still getting guys into Notre Dame and South Bend. We're getting guys into Notre Dame and South Euclid. We're getting guys into 2-year, 4-year schools. We're getting guys into the trades, knowing that, hey, you might want a great Catholic education, but you might not be college material. That's awesome. You're still going to be a man of Benedictine. You're still going to be a great member of society, a great family member, and a great father. We're going to give you that Catholic education, and we're going to help you develop those relationships or introduce you to the guys in the trades who, we talk about being college prep. That's still a great livable wage and a great career opportunity where you can come out debt-free, and we recognize that, but we take that as a responsibility to make sure that those guys have those options and opportunities and they're well-informed. So that's a lot of the exciting pieces of what we've got going on campus. You guys, I'm more than happy to answer some questions if you've got about the school, but I might kick it over to Chris. He'll talk a little bit about advancement, and we might take some Q&A at the end. That sound good? Perfect. Okay, thanks guys. Chris is going to give you a quick update.
Okay, so thanks to Ryan for providing an overall scope of what we got going on at the school academically, program-wise, as well as admissions. And an integral part to the overall operation of the school is the advancement department, which is synonymous with development. Ultimately, our number one priority within our department is to assist to raise the resources to allow the young men to attend Benedictine. So a quick math formula of what it costs to educate a student at Benedictine today is $23,000, which is much higher than when we attended school and even higher than when you attended school. So the math formula is it costs $23,000 for us to educate the students, and per year, per one student. So if you do the math of 265 students times 23,000, it's a significant operating expense. Benedictine absorbs close to $14,000 of that $23,000 prior to the young men even coming to Benedictine. So our average price a student pays is $9,000 annually. How we offset that and how we provide those opportunities for those students to come to Benedictine is through the support that you provide. So when you make a gift to Benedictine, it impacts our young men, because if we didn't have those gifts, we wouldn't have school and they wouldn't be provided the chance to attend. So a quick plug just to recognize and thank each of you for your support, along with some of you who provide specific scholarships and mentoring to our young men on an individual basis. So thank you for that. So that's our number one priority. We need to find the resources for the students to attend. It costs us around $1 million each year, a little bit over $1 million, to bridge that gap and to make it even with the operating budget. And then every 10th or so year, we focus on a capital improvement project. Ryan alluded to our campus being beautified. We put together a steering committee in 2015 and really kicked off in 2018 our capital campaign, which is above and beyond that $1 million, where we created a budget, got together with an architect, got together with a general contractor and a construction firm, to scope out how the Benedictine grounds will be enhanced and improved. The small parking lot, which we all knew for faculty as well as guests for an athletic competition, has been transformed into a beautified courtyard named after and loving memory of Joe Rufus. The Rufus Courtyard will serve a multi-purpose facility where we're going to have graduation there for the first time this spring, May 30th, on the grounds of Benedictine. We can hold baccalaureate masses, we could hold reunions, we can hold art exhibits, music concerts. The students can go out there and eat lunch. It's got an elevated platform for presentation. It's super sharp. And then the building that connects the academic wing with the science wing was always identified as a bridge or an overpass. That's been transformed into a 2-story, 5,000 square foot true entrance to Benedictine. So in the 60, 50, how many ever years it's been, we've never identified to have a true entrance to Benedictine. So this third building will serve just as that. The second floor of that building will be all education based, where we have 4 pods where independent study can occur, students can meet with counselors, group projects. If a young man wants to go read his book or take his laptop computer up there to work, think of it like a library setting, and it's extremely sharp, and we'd love for you all to come see it in person. Connected to that, so it's the courtyard, the atrium, the science labs are all being redone and transformed right now with an expected completion date of May. So we're just around the corner with that. The atrium is 98% done. The last piece we were waiting on was the furniture to get installed. Now all we need is the furniture installed, which is on property and in the area. That project is running $6 million. So we have the task, again, the difficult task to raise $1 million just for the school and the guys to come there. But to be competitive, to make sure we're modern with our facilities, we put together a $6 million project, again, to attract, retain, and make our institution thrive as best as we could. But that's what we do. Sometimes people hear the word, what does advancement mean? It's just a special word that education developed to put the Catholic institutions in a position to have young men attend the place, as well as capital improvements with the school. But that was our spiel. Hopefully it was as efficient as possible, and we covered as much as we could in the 15-20 minutes, but the floor is open to ask anything that you might inquire on.
I saw the other day that Anthony DiGiorano is leaving.
Yes.
Anybody in line to replace him yet?
Sure. So yeah, thank you for the question, Bob. The Anthony serves as the Alumni Relations Director at Benedictine, which ultimately is the liaison between the alumni base and the high school. The position falls within our department, and Anthony has accepted a role, a nice opportunity at Case Western Reserve in their dental schools development office. What we always share with any employee is anytime you have an opportunity for career growth and the opportunity is not present at Benedictine, we're going to be your #1 cheerleader and reference if we can for you to gain that career experience that you need. So that was all within the last less than a week. So collectively we're getting our minds together to identify what that role could look like and how we might adjust it a bit, but ultimately Anthony will be furthering his career at Case beginning May 1, so he'll be at Benedictine for the next month of April.
He was always awful with the problem in our class. We had different functions and so forth, but he's responded immediately and gave us feedback and answers. So I'm sorry to see him go, but at the same token, I'm glad to see he's got a good opportunity.
Certainly, and for any of those similar inquiries or assistance with class management, in the immediate term, just contact me, and we'll make sure you guys get the resources or answers you're seeking.
who is going to replace Anthony? And for the simple reason is, because I keep in touch up here in north with our guys.
Yeah.
Down in south, in Florida, is Dennis Franco.
So in the meantime, I will be doing that. But that's
You will
what
be
we're
doing it.
that's what we're working on right now is to figure out who can replace that role.
All right, because he sends up all the deceased from the south to me.
Yep.
I send all ours to the down. So in other words, north and south, we communicate. We see each other
Sure.
on the phone, and we let know each other what's happening here and what's happening down in the south. So now I told him to hold up all the deceased because we have no idea who's being replaced. by
Send it all to me.
All to you.
Everything to me, yes.
Okay, that's what I wanted.
Yep.
Second question, you call it real education. I'm gonna give you a looper. My daughter's at Strongsville Middle School. She teaches 120 music students, conducts them. But in that school, I don't know about Benedictine, when we went for discipline in our school, we had Father Jerome with Angelo, remember? And if you didn't like what Father Morris, you get a pow, you got it. What is the discipline at this school now at today than what we had back then? How do you handle it?
So I'll take that question. That's a good question, especially considering some of the recognition that increased behavior issues have been a byproduct of the post-COVID schooling. We're seeing an uptick not only at Benedictine but across the country and across the world. Students were not really accustomed for about a year of having to follow the normally stringent rules that were set out for them in learning settings. And so, Bob, it's been a long time since capital punishment was allowed in schools, whether it be a belt, a ruler, any sort of stick, or anything within reaching throwing distance. We can't do that. So clearly, we've had to modify our discipline approach, and a lot of it is going to be through setting expectations and following up, a lot of parent contact. A lot of what Dominic is focusing on is student leadership, where we're trying to hold our guys accountable as faculty and staff, but they're starting to emerge as leaders when it comes to discipline because they're holding each other accountable. One of the hardest things in the world is telling one of your buddies, hey, knock it off, that's not what we do here. But we're starting to try and grow that level of leadership with our guys so that it's more self-policing, and that doesn't mean that they're the only ones who are working on discipline. Our Director of Student Services, Brian Strawn, still holds regular detention after school and on Saturdays. If we've got to meet with a parent, we'll take the time to do that. But we still want to grow these guys into young men. And believe it or not, sometimes young men test boundaries. I don't know if anybody in here knows anything about that. But in the event that does happen, we do have to address it swiftly, sternly. We always stay firm, fair, and consistent. That's all we're looking for. That I try and apply that as a parent myself. And Bob, I think that it is a constant battle to work on that.
Another thing I'm going to tell you. My daughter comes home from the public school of Strongsville. Middle school now. Middle school, they plan these kids at each class. You fight with me in my class, I fight with you in that class. When we go to the third class, we fight with the teacher, just to pass the time. Teacher tries to stop them. You can touch me, I'll sue you. And they do this, okay? And they got it all planned out, no discipline. So get this, they have passes to go to the restroom for the girls and the boys. You have to sign out on the clock when you go and come back in. Mr. Matthews, could you sign me out and sign me in? Well, there's the clock, just mark your time down when you go and come back in. Well, Mr. Matthews, I can't tell regular time. I can only tell digital time. Middle school, okay? So they have to do this. Another teacher, we're going to have no phones, cell phones. We're not going to have no calculators. We're going to have something different. We're going to have a paper and pencil test, multiple choice answers, 20. You have the whole period to finish before the bell. Passes it out, They're all working on it. All of a sudden, the hands start going up in the class. Mr. Matthews, what's the matter? We're on number 12 at the bottom of the page. It's got the question, did the printer forgot to print the answer? And he says, it's there. Well, we don't see it. Where is it? We don't see it. It's there. We don't see it. He has to tell them, turn the page over. Oh, there it is at the top. Where is the common sense in these middle? They're going to kill us as some of the high schools can't tell regular time, digital time. What is this? Now, how? They can't control it. There's no discipline in Strongsville Middle School. Okay? They can't do it. They have to bring, when teachers come out in the hallway, they smell all odor. What is it? Call the police in with the dogs. Well, they can't find anything. Well, the custodians, well, you're not going to find it. The dogs look down. He says, where's this girl coming from? He says, why don't you go to the girls' restroom, the boys' restroom? You see footprints on the toilet seat, on the handrail. They're in the ceiling tiles putting dope and whatever. That's how they found it. And they're wondering, how do these kids know that their brother and sister in high school is sending it down and telling them what to do in the middle school? There's no control. I mean, if these kids are like this now, with no common sense, turn the paper over, or can't tell time, what is it going to be for the generation coming out of there from public school? Catholic school at least could control you to a point, but not in public.
Well, Bobby, I've got to defend Strongsville Middle School and High School. 5 grandchildren, 2 are in the high school right now, 2 went through Ohio State in 3 years. They were very well prepared, and they never saw any of this, I guarantee you.
Yeah, but this is starting now. I mean, it's a shame. My daughter comes home, got to get aspirin and going to bed. I mean, how do you control things like this? These young ones are like that now.
When it's a fair question, you know, it sounds like Strongsville's going to have some challenges moving forward. If that's the
Everybody
case.
is.
Everybody is. Like we mentioned, you know, people do test boundaries, but what we look at, we have the good fortune of being a private school, and if that's something that, if they're doing things that don't align with our expectations, that are outside the lines of good taste and good behavior, we have the good fortune of being able to tell them, you have a few other options other than Benedictine, because we're not going to stand for that.
Any trends of switching divisions?
So each year we have to work with OHSAA to determine, so Chris can probably speak a little bit better to how the competitive balance works, but each year we have to evaluate, we have to submit a number that goes through a formula. We will be Division III for football again next year, and we will be Division II for just about everything else. So each year we get evaluated, and that's where we've landed for, this will be our second year back in Division III for football.
So how does it look from our standpoint? I know we had a lot of young guys last year.
Yeah, hopefully they got, it was, you know, we took our lumps. We've been as high can be, and that was a challenging year last year. But if we pardon me? Tough schedule. We're actually going to be playing a different schedule. Hoban is off the schedule. We are going to be playing a couple teams from Buffalo, St. Francis, and Canisius. So we'll be shifting with them. They play often with Erie Cathedral Prep, who's still on our schedule. We are welcoming Strongsville on this year. We're welcoming Normandy onto the schedule this year. Walsh will be week 1. St. Vincent St. Mary will be week 10. So it is a challenging schedule, but we did make some adjustments, recognizing
Yes, ma'am.
you know, sometimes we were a little bit outmanned. Other questions?
A couple years ago, there was some talk of adding 7th and 8th grade junior highs. Is that still ongoing, or?
I would revisit that as often as possible. That was something that we looked at when you talk about a model. When we say, you know, how do you get between 80 and 100 good kids every year? if you have a filtering, a funnel of students that come, a feeder school could be a great opportunity. So we started to investigate with our current families who would be interested in sending their young men to Benedictine as 7th and 8th graders. That way they're already on campus, they're a part of the community, they've already been coming there for 2 years. It would be a natural progression for them to come to Benedictine for high school. And in order for that to be financially solvent, for it to be financially feasible, we had to make sure that we had a minimum number of people who would be interested. And at this point, we didn't see the level of interest that we would have hoped for in order to move forward on that. I would still consider that moving forward in the future if we found that there was a critical mass of families who'd be willing to send. We also want to be careful and play well with the diocese as far as not cannibalizing other Catholic institutions. We do want to have some morals about us, but we still think that we could provide a good middle school education as well in the event that there was that level of interest. Other questions?
What's the tuition this year?
So tuition this year is $13,400. Next year it'll be $14,100. And Chris mentioned that doesn't cover the complete cost to educate, which is hovering around $23,000. Yes, sir.
Now, is that considered a discount, what you're talking about, the 23?
No, when we add up all of our expenses versus what we charge for tuition, we call that a gap. That's the gap that we're charged to fill through advancement. Other questions? Did we miss anything? That's it, right?
If anyone has anything additional that you might think about when you're driving home or cutting the grass in a couple weeks, give us a call, send us an email, and please don't be strangers. You know, we have reunion weekend the third Friday of June. If you're not at a class ending in 3 and 8 and you want to still come and explore the campus, please do so. Send me an email, we'll put you on the RSVP list. But it is a great opportunity for you to see the grounds as well as to see some of our developments, and then ultimately come back and bring some memories that you had in the 50s and 60s and early 70s at the Home of Champions.
What's the date and the cost for Stag Night?
Stag Night will be $50 on Friday, June 16th, the third Friday in June.
Invites will be going out, right?
Invites will be going out to anyone ending in a 3 and an 8. But we will send out a mass communication on our website as well as through email for the general public.
Now, the entrance to Benedictine, is it the same place or you have another place?
Good question. So if you entered what we know as the traditional MLK entrance where the Abbey is, you could still enter there, but you're going to be limited with parking. We only have 18 spots. We created 18 parking spots to make up for the spots that were removed within the quad. So the back large parking lot closest to the old St. Benedict's Church is where all guests will enter. It's a good question.
Is there a driveway going to it?
That's correct, exactly, yep. Which is also part of the capital improvement plans, and over Easter break here in a couple of weeks, that back parking lot will all be brand new blacktop as well.
Thank you for the update, guys. It was great.
Not a problem.
Thank you
We
for
gotta
being
get
here
running.
today.
Good to see you all. Appreciate it.
Is there a possibility, this is off the spot, it's like a group of us, a lot of them are